Hi everyone, it's Jerrie Dean from Missing Persons of America, and you know who this is. We're going to be talking about a missing man from San Antonio, Texas. His name is Samuel Reyes, and we're also going to be doing an interview with his mom. So that's coming up next. So I did a Zoom meeting with Sam's mom, and she told me about the day that Sam went missing and more information that I didn't know about before. So if you know about Sam's disappearance, you still want to watch this video because there's information on there that you likely have not heard before. And at this point in time, everybody's looking for more leads. Now, you've probably heard that he was over at his grandmother's house, but we've also found out that he was seen over at church and across the road. So that opens up more potential of more people have seen him. So if you think you might have seen him, please contact us or contact San Antonio Police Department and let them know where you saw him at. So we're going to go over that story now, and here comes.
I spent 14 days in San Antonio, basically doing as much legwork with me, my husband, and my son's dad and his wife, and the whole Reyes family who lives in San Antonio. When we first went out there, it was on the 20th. So he had already been missing for a week, a little over a week. And, we don't really have a direction. We don't really have a specific area to search. Just logically, behind his grandma's house, there's a lake, Lake Crystal or something, and it has a trail. It's a pretty large area, wooded area with lake and water and a little bridge and fishing. So the reason that I really focus on that area and ask EcuSearch to go ahead and help us there is because before I decided to drive out, I have a niece. She's a therapist in Tennessee, and she works with psychic mediums to help solve some cases over there. Mm-hmm. Normally, I wouldn't say that I totally disbelieve, but I don't really take everything they say, to heart. But I felt like there might be some value. So she asked me, "Do you want to get a reading?" And I said, "Sure." And then, there were 3 of them, and they all, with confidence, told me that my son was deceased. And they told me that they kept seeing like a wooded area, and they saw water and something about a number 3. So that described almost perfectly the area behind her house. And I'm like, you know what? Let's just search it because I don't know where else to search. Mm-hmm. So they went ahead and agreed to bring their drones out and fly them over the area. They were looking for also the color blue because a grandmother had given a possible idea of what he was wearing, but it was wrong. There was no blue involved. So they were looking for that color, with the drone search. And in any case, they didn't get any solid hits of anything. So, at this point, it's so huge of an area there. There's so much wooded area to search. And we've walked, with the family and ourselves, so much of that over 14 days, like every day, going in every possible place, talking to private property owners, and they've been helpful, driving their ATVs around. And, we had Alamo Search and Rescue agree to have some of their volunteer members have a dog, not a cadaver dog, but just a dog, and some horses. And I guess they just landscaped or canvassed the area, but they said they didn't see anything. So at this point, we've just been focusing on like the 5 to 10 mile radius around where he was last seen.
I was going to ask you if a dog had been brought out. Did the dog, now evidently he went out the door and the door was left open, right?
Yes, that's what I understand.
Okay. Was the dog able to go from the door and then follow the trail?
Okay. In fact, when they allowed Alamo to go out, They were supposed to contact me, I thought, to let me know they were coming out, to maybe meet up with me or something, but that didn't happen. Apparently, they went ahead and told them to just do the search around the church area where he was last seen.
Mm-hmm.
So they never came to the grandma's house. They never had any scent of my son of any sort to do any searching. And I was very upset by that because they said that it's been too long. By the time they had sent this, out, it was well into 2 weeks. And they said it's been too much time. So I don't know.
Now, what about at this point a cadaver dog? Just to,
No.
if nothing else, just to rule some stuff out. Are you able to get them to bring a cadaver dog out?
I have not gone back to that at this point. And the only reason why is because, again, not really being sure how this works. I mean, they told me there are 3 type of dogs. There's one kind of dog that they'll just send out blindly to look for any people, and then there's another dog that like actually is searching for the bloodhounds for a scent, and then there's a cadaver dogs that are actually the ones that are looking for the deceased. But they said in our case there was nothing else they could do,
Okay.
and I was just very disheartened by that because I felt like just do something else one more time somehow. And
All right. So if anybody's watching this and we could get somebody to bring a cadaver dog out, would that help? Are you ready for that at this point?
At this point, yes, anything's going to help me. I mean, if I can find my son dead or alive, I just need closure.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I need.
Okay, so that's what I want everybody to know that's watching, that if you have access to a cadaver dog and you can help, or and you're in the area, we'll meet you over there, or so we can get things set up and you can bring the dog there and see if they can find anything. Or if you have any information concerning cadaver dog too, we would love to hear about that too.
And just so you know, I live in Prosper, Texas, so I'm 5 hours away from the grandma's house right now. So if we did anything, we would need to coordinate with his dad and stepmom and the family there, unfortunately.
All right. Tell me about the cell phone.
Okay. What would you like to know?
Oh, well, if it's been pinged and if you found anything that way to show that he even left from that area.
So he left without his phones. There were 2 phones. He left without his phones, his wallet, and his shoes. I have possession right now. Yeah, he had no shoes on. No shoes on. And it's on surveillance footage at the camera at the churches. There were no shoes.
So he was over there. They caught him on our surveillance video over in that area, and he was walking around with no shoes on.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
And so that's the reason why I'm very suspicious of something more than this was not a man who just decided to go out and hide or needed some time off. This is somebody who left because they were fearful of something, whether he was under the influence, whether it was hallucinations or paranoia. There's a lot of messaging on his phone that happened several hours before he actually was seen at that church. And he was there with no shoes on. And as far as his phones are concerned, I have them with me. I was very close to my son and I knew his passwords.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to get into both phones. I've dissected those phones every possible way at this point. I've gone through all his contacts, his text messages, his Lyft history, his bank accounts, his social media, which he didn't use that often. I've contacted everyone, so there is no way to locate him based on a device.
All right.
And so that's why it's even more terrifying for me. He never left without his phone. Maybe his wallet, I can understand. Maybe he had some cash in his pocket, but his phone is not something that he would just intentionally just leave.
Yeah, the only other thing that comes up to my mind, maybe he went to a homeless shelter, but at this point he's been gone
31 days today.
Yeah, to say it's been a month. So I would think I think even let's say he was under duress at the time, there had to be a period of time from then that day to now that he would not be in duress and he would have got a hold of you. Can't imagine
Yes,
he would just
ma'am.
leave you and not say a thing.
And that's the thing that, some people have very close relationships with their kids and some people don't. Um, even when my son had issues and problems, and I'm not going to say he was a saint, when we were in California, he definitely had some drug problems in the past. He definitely had some depression, some anxiety issues. Um, but by the time we had left California and I moved here, and he decided that he was going to eventually go and stay with his dad and that side of the family, everything did not appear to be, a problem because, like I said, his goal was to go to the Army. And he did have failed drug tests with marijuana in his system for a good number of months because that's just something that's really hard to get out of your system. I talked to the recruiter. He said that Sam was very, you know, he was very excited about it. He was very anxious. He wanted to hurry up and like get that system clean and get his test so he could go in. And by November 24th, when he went to MEPS, he was clean. He was clear. He was healthy. And there's no way that he could have just been using these type of drugs and passed the MEPS exam and then allowed to be allowed to swear in to like join the Army. I'm retired Air Force. I know how these things work. And so, like I said, I know that he didn't make good choices in the past, but I know that looking at all of his messages, even to some people that were encouraging him maybe to come and smoke or hang out, I see proof that he was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm really serious. I'm trying to get in the Army. So, I'm really bothered by this.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I'm trying to be positive. I'm trying to think, like, believe what everyone tells me that, he just, he made a bad choice. Maybe he used, which I know is most likely meth based on a lot of things that I've uncovered now. But to be honest, like, even with that being said, where is he? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, a part of the thing that I have noticed, there seems to be a lot of difference between doing drugs back in my generation and doing them now, where now you're not quite sure what you're getting. I mean, you were getting speed, you're getting speed, you're getting cocaine, you're getting cocaine. Now everything is so mixed in together. You may be saying I want speed, but you may be getting something entirely different. So
Right.
that could have something to do with this. Maybe it was a bad effect, and we don't know if at this point what it might be. Now you told me, or I read, you didn't tell me, but I read that Texas EcuSearch had searched around his grandmother's house. Were you
Right.
satisfied with the search that they did? I know you've been over there too, right?
Yeah, I spent 14 days in San Antonio, basically doing as much legwork with me, my husband, and my son's dad and his wife, and the whole Reyes family who lives in San Antonio. Um, when we first went out there, it was on the 20th, so he had already been missing for a week, a little over a week, and we don't really have a direction. We don't really have a specific area to search. Just logically, behind his grandma's house, there's a lake, Lake Crystal or something, and it has a trail. It's a pretty large area, wooded area with lake and water and a little bridge and fishing. So the reason that I really focus on that area and ask EcuSearch to go ahead and help us there is because before I decided to drive out, I have a niece. She's a therapist in Tennessee, and she works with psychic mediums to help solve some cases over there.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, I wouldn't say that I totally disbelieve, but I don't really take everything they say, to heart. But I felt like there might be some value. So she asked me, do you want to get a reading? And I said, sure. And then, there were 3 of them, and they all, with confidence, told me that my son was deceased. And they told me that they kept seeing like a wooded area, and they saw water and something about a number 3. So that described almost perfectly the area behind her house. And I'm like, you know what? Let's just search it, because I don't know where else to search. So they went ahead and agreed to bring their drones out and fly them over the area. They were looking for also the color blue, because a grandmother had given a possible idea what he was wearing, but it was wrong. There was no blue involved. So they were looking for that color, with the drone search. And in any case, they didn't get any solid hits of anything. So, at this point, it's so huge of an area there. There's so much wooded area to search. And we walked, with the family and ourselves, so much of that over 14 days, like every day, going in every possible place, talking to private property owners, and they've been helpful, driving their ATVs around. And, we had Alamo Search and Rescue agree to have some of their volunteer members have a dog, not a cadaver dog, but just a dog, and some horses. And I guess they just landscaped or canvassed the area, but they said they didn't see anything. So at this point, we've just been focusing on like the 5 to 10 mile radius around where he was last seen.
So I was going to ask you about the dog too. Let me get myself resituated here. I was going to ask you if a dog had been brought out. Did the dog, now evidently he went out the door and the door was left open, right?
Yes, that's what I understand.
Okay. Was the dog able to go from the door and then follow the trail?
Okay. In fact, when they allowed Alamo to go out, they were supposed to contact me, I thought, to let me know they were coming out, to maybe meet up with me or something. But that didn't happen. Apparently, they went ahead and told them to just do the search around the church area where he was last seen. Mm-hmm. So they never came to the grandma's house. They never had any scent of my son of any sort to do any searching. And I was very upset by that, because they said that it's been too long. By the time they had sent this, out, it was well into 2 weeks. And they said it's been too much time. Then you were able to check on some surveillance video, and yet you got confirmation that he was seen there. Yep, we definitely have him on the cameras. From the time he actually arrived at the parking lot, and there's some circumstances behind it too, which also lead me to believe that yes, he was under the influence. He looked very panicked and disturbed. He looked like he was hunting or frightened or something, like he was like not in his normal state of mind. But he wasn't aggressive and he wasn't violent, and he just wanted to look for a cousin that he had claimed was kidnapped, which we don't really understand any of that. But that's why I believe that, the paranoia and stuff is very possible from meth. Mm-hmm. But, like you said, maybe he didn't even realize that he got something bad from somebody. Because I can tell you too that 2 days before he went missing, his girlfriend did break up with him. And so that could have easily been a trigger to like, you know what, I'm just going to do this. I'll have enough time to clear it out of my system before I go in. And I've seen things like that with him in the past with his anxiety. Mm-hmm. But very, very disturbing that he's just gone like this. It makes me believe that, yes, either he got something he wasn't supposed to, or, somebody really was coming to get him because of something that happened that I don't know about. Now, on that video and at the church, is there any indication of what direction he was heading? The only thing that we know is he was there from 6:48 in the morning. And then we followed him through the church around the campus. And at 7:10, we saw that he was at the edge of the highway and he ran directly across the highway. So that would have been actually from SAPD jurisdiction. Across the other side is now Bexar County Sheriff. So that's why I reached out to them to say, hey, I understand we filed on the SAPD side, but can you get involved? Because that's the last known place that he was actually seen on camera. They basically told me that all the cameras in the area, it's been too many days. All the cameras get wiped after so many days. They don't retain so much information. And there was a pawn shop directly across the street that we were hoping may have had something. But by the time we went there, it was Christmas Eve, and they were closed for a couple of days. And then once we tried to look at their cameras, it was too late. There was nothing to look at.
Yeah.
So we were hoping to see maybe, if he went left or he went right, or a car like pulled in and picked him up or something. But all we have is that church footage.
Okay. And him going across which
Yep.
freeway did he go across? Or which
It's the
road?
Highway 87. I guess it's also known as Rigsby Road. The other thing is, because he did not have a car, he did take mass transit, so he took the bus system. I always thought maybe he got on a bus, so I've had missing persons tell me that the BOLO goes out to all the bus systems. My ex-brother-in-law, he works for the bus, so he is actually trying to do paperwork to pull camera footage of the buses that were on that route to see did he get on a bus. But that's a process, so it's taking quite a while to get what we need from that. But I've been doing tons of reading online, and I see that there's a lot of drug activity with the cartel, and I see there's a lot of stuff going on across the border. And God forbid, but I know that there's trafficking going on out there, and it's not just young women and teenagers. There was 30 men apparently that were trafficked in Houston like a week or so ago, and like 9 of them escaped. And they even said that there were like 15 more people that were, captive somewhere. I'm sure I would hope that my son's not related to that. But there's some real possibilities that something like that happened, and that we're not going to find him because they may have taken him over the border somewhere. And so these are the things that really frighten me, because I know that I don't have any ability at all to find him if that happens. And I was really hoping today was the day, like this is the day he was going to boot camp, and I just prayed really hard that like I would wake up and he would wake up from wherever and say, I need to go home today. Today's my day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost 4:00 and no one's heard from him. So it's not happening. I know it. It's just, it really hurts me so much. I just pray that nobody hurt him and nobody harmed him. And that if he is not with us, that he just went peacefully, because that's the worst thing for a mom to think.
I'm wondering, I'm not so confident about that, because when I first initially was reading the story, I was thinking to myself, well, maybe it's a possibility he went over in the woods by grandma's house and he sat down and that was it. I don't know. Maybe he's still there. But now hearing that he traveled like he did, I don't know. And the fact that he didn't have any shoes on, I can't believe he'd go in the woods without any shoes.
Well, and that's the thing, we didn't really think that would be the case either, because, we walked that. I mean, I even took off my shoes and walked in my socks, just like, and granted, I guess if you're under the influence, maybe you don't feel the same things that, you would feel, but knowing my son, oh, and by the way, he had a limp when he was walking through the church. He was limping on his left leg. Okay. So, it made me believe that obviously he hurt himself somehow. So, that even gave me more reason to not think that he would have gone walking into the woods if he had some sort of injury. But, it's the road, the highway there is just, like a gravel on the side. And then there's like a ditch off to the side. It's like grassy area. So in my mind, I can tell you what I think maybe have happened. So his timeline was he left at 7:10 and he crossed the highway. And then we don't know which way he went, but, just thinking about what he was going through in his mind, I think maybe he could have returned to his grandma's house because she heard a knock at the door at 7:45. So if he left the church at 7:10 and he went back to her house, which would have taken probably a good half an hour to get back, The door was open, so he could have gone inside. He could have put his shoes on. I don't know.
Oh,
Maybe if you put his shoes on at that point, and then maybe somebody did come by, because there is a person who I'm trying to ask SAPD to look into. She was the last person that had any text message communication with him, a couple, like on the 10th, like after midnight. And granted, this happened now on the 12th, but I could think about maybe somebody came by and, you know, knocked on the door. Door was open, so they just knocked. And like, if Sam was inside, maybe he just walked outside to like go sit in a car or go outside to talk to somebody. Or if it was this particular person, maybe this person said, you know, just come to my place or something like that, and I'll bring you back later. You know, that would make sense, because the grandma heard a knock at the door at 7:45. So who came to knock at the door and why? If Sam wasn't there, like, to me, this makes some sort of sense that it could have happened that way.
so it was either Sam knocked on the door or somebody else knocked on the door to tell him to come get in the car.
Possibly. I mean, I don't know. There's a million scenarios, but, you know, and the grandma's timelines and her stories change frequently. But this is the one piece that she said consistently, that she heard a knock at the door and it was 7:45. So just knowing what I know, he was 7:10, a mile or so down the road. And at 7:45, she heard a knock at the door. I would hope that he went back. I would hope that he would have put his shoes on. He did not grab his backpack. He didn't get his phone. He didn't get his wallet. That's the reason why I would think that if somebody familiar came to the door, he would maybe feel comfortable enough to just walk out and, you know, go chat with him, or go, hopefully not buy something, but, you know, something, some reason to like just walk out and get in someone's car.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I mean, these are all, like the, you know, SVU sergeant just said, these are all speculations. And I'm like, I understand that. But there are some things that I've given them that they should see them as highly suspicious. And I feel like they should look at this. And they're saying that they won't. I need to take this to the supervisor of missing persons. They highly encourage me to continue communicating with the missing persons department. And if there's something of interest or a red flag or a trigger, then they will be the ones to decide when it goes to the next level. And it's just so frustrating. I'm trying really hard, ma'am. I'm trying everything in my power to find my son, and nobody wants to help me more than I'm doing. It's so frustrating.
All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching. If you have any information, any tips that you can give us, please contact us or call the San Antonio Police Department. And just trying to find new tips on Sam and where he might be. Here's the phone number for San Antonio Police Department. And that's about it for today. If you would like to do one of these videos, if you would like to do a Zoom meeting and I can do an interview with you and get your information out there about a missing person, please contact me and we'll hook up and we'll do an interview. And that's about it. Thanks so much, everybody, for listening. See you soon.